He grabbed my throat in a parking garage right there between a silver BMW and a yellow stripe on the concrete fingers, digging in like he owned the air in my lungs. He thought I would beg, that I would fold the way people fold when money leans in close. Tell me something. If a man like that did it to you in the dark with his friends watching, would you freeze, would you fight? Or would you make sure he never tried it again? My name is Diane Porter, 38. I push a cleaning cart through a building with marble floors that whisper old money. I wear a yellow bandana that keeps my hair out of my eyes and my head down, and people walk past me like I'm part of the furniture. That's the picture most folks see. The other picture is locked in a footlocker under my bed, medals in a shadow box, names written in a journal. I don't show anyone 20 years, Army Special Forces, 3 deployments, a Purple Heart that doesn't help you sleep. I took a janitor job because quiet sounded holy. Floors that shine routine that keeps the world small, a life where the loudest thing you hear is a buffer humming. You know what I mean? Quiet didn't last long at Steel Industries. Quiet doesn't last around men like Harrison Steele. Picture a handsome suit with a family name stamped on the label, chin-up cologne that says, "You don't shop for yourself." He glided through that lobby like the marble belonged to his shoes, and he cultivated a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Little things, at first a smirk at the safety, meeting a dear or sweetheart that sounded like a warning, a slow clap when I spoke up and asked for more gloves for the team. Then the performance, always a crowd, always an audience he could teach a lesson. One morning he stopped right in front of my cart, 2 executives at his shoulders trying not to look bored. "Tell me, Diane," he said loud enough for the echo, "any thoughts on quarterly projections, or should we stick to mop techniques?" The laughter wasn't loud, but it was heavy. I met his eyes and said, "I'm here to do my job, sir." He stepped in close, voice polished and cold. "Your job is to clean up messes, not create them with your attitude." Something in me wanted to throw the mop like a spear. Something in me wanted to swallow everything and smile. I picked a third thing. My place is wherever I'm doing honest work to support myself, same as anyone else. The lobby went still. People tried to look at their phones without looking at their phones. He flushed, and the hinge that holds his mask in place slipped. Pattern interrupt ready because from here it turns. That night, he found me on the 32nd floor in his office, that monument to himself, black wood desk, that makes you walk the long way, to feel small diploma lit like stained glass behind him. He didn't sit. He leaned, crossed his arms, watched me like a cat watches a bird that doesn't know the window is there. "You embarrassed me," he said, soft the way snakes move. "I want you gone." "On what grounds?" I asked, voice flat as a level. "Disrespect," he said, and he enjoyed the taste of it. We did a slow circle in that room, me with a trash bag, and a hand that kept wanting a weapon him, with the confidence of a man who always wins. I told him money doesn't make you better. A corner office doesn't give you the right to humiliate people. He told me my place, and then he pulled out a card, wrote a number, flicked it to the carpet like a coin in a fountain. "Tomorrow," he said, smiling too thin, "call a lawyer." Do you think that's fair? I went home to my little apartment with the squeaky hinge and the view of brick, dragged the footlocker out, opened it like a wound. Medals. A photo, 12 of us outside FOB Chapman, 6 of us still breathing. A leather journal with handwriting that looks like it's holding its breath. And a pistol in an old t-shirt that smelled like dust and time. I sat on the floor and had the only conversation that ever matters, run or stand, flee or fortify, pretend it will blow over, or build a plan and own the ending. I wanted quiet. Quiet was over. Next morning I came in early. Uniform, just jeans and a red sweater, slipped into the cafe across the street with a coffee I didn't drink, watched the revolving door. At 7:15, the silver BMW rolled up like a shark fin, and Harrison got out, scanned the street, not like a man on a morning stroll, more like a man who'd decided to do something he'd never have to answer for. That's when Jake spotted me, security guard, 20-something, with tired eyes and a good heart, the only person in that building who reliably said, "Morning, Diane." He sat down, leaned in, and told me the kind of news that rearranges your bones. Rumors. Calls to numbers that don't live in executive contact lists. A work order to disable parking garage cameras tomorrow night. His voice was steady, but it carried an alarm bell. We both knew what that meant. Some of you are already typing. Report it to HR. I hear you. Patricia Kim is the HR director. Sharp mind, clear lines, but she reports to a board where Harrison's father keeps a seat. Warm Harrison owns 17%, and sometimes process is just a prettier word for stall. I still went to see her that afternoon, because I believe in giving people a chance to do right. She looked at me over her glasses, and I watched the calculation in her eyes, the one that says, "I will not be part of a cover-up," and the other one that says, "They might try to make me." She didn't promise. She warned. She documented. She stayed late. Back on my floor, I cleaned and counted doors, memorized angles, mapped the blind spots. A soldier pretending to be a janitor, pretending to be a shadow. When I got home, I opened the locker again, set the pistol on the bed, and that's when the knock came. A young woman in glasses, nerves vibrating like guitar strings. "Ms. Porter. I'm Angela Payroll. Can I come in? I kept the chain on. How did you get my address?" She looked down. I looked it up. I heard Mr. Steele yesterday talking to someone about sending a message, maybe something permanent. If I go to the police, they'll say it's vague, but I think he means you. She saw the medals on the table and went quiet. "You were military." "I was," I said. "My brother was a Marine," she whispered. "He died in Iraq. He was brave. Watching you in the lobby, it felt like that same kind of brave." She lifted her chin. "Let me help." I wanted to say no. I wanted to keep her hands clean. But courage is contagious, and fear is too, and I knew which one I wanted spreading. I told her, "Tomorrow night, I need you somewhere with witnesses, movie theater, restaurant. I don't care where, just not here." She shook her head. "I can be more useful than that." She was right. She knew payroll schedules and quiet hallways and who owed who a favor. She left with a plan in her pocket and a fire in her eyes. Here's the twist. I wasn't as alone as I thought. While Harrison was shaking hands in the warehouse district with a man named Tony beside a rusted shipping container, $5,000 cash in a briefcase, while they discussed a message like, "Violence is a memo the quiet people were moving." Bobby, in maintenance hands, like shovels, said he'd seen enough, and he wasn't going to watch another woman get ground up. Tominette, the kind of man people pretend not to notice, had a habit of setting up redundant backups just because it made him sleep better, and he rerouted the disabled garage cameras to an off-site server. Jake, who was supposed to leave by 11, decided he didn't hear that. Patricia had a folder full of complaints that never got daylight, and a reporter on standby in her phone. Angela recruited 2 admins and a night shift clerk who owed her a favor, and suddenly there was a net thin but real stretched under a fall that was coming fast. The building emptied. City lights came on like stars you can't touch. I changed into dark jeans and a black sweater under my vest, hair-tight holster, snug, heart slow. At 10:53, Jake's voice crackled in my radio. 3 vehicles, 6. No 7 men, not trying to hide. I told him to leave. He didn't. Angela's voice chimed in. "We're in position. Tom's feeds are live, Channel 7 ready, stairwells covered. For the first time in a long time, I felt something warm and ancient unit cohesion, the simple relief of not being the only one. The elevator opened into the garage, and the air smelled like oil and old rain. 7 shapes fanned out in a half-circle, boots loud, confidence louder. Tony stepped forward, thick neck grin that didn't reach his eyes. "You Diane, I am. Got a message from a friend." He enjoyed saying it. I straightened hands, open voice calm as Sunday. "Drop your weapons and get on the ground." He laughed, threw his chin toward the floor. "Lady, get on your knees and maybe we go easy." "Wait." The garage lights surged to full power, white and unforgiving. Alarms screamed. Lockdown doors clanked shut like a judge's gavel. Tom's voice rolled through the PA, steady as a metronome. "Atlanta police notified you are under surveillance, multiple angles, do not move." You could taste the mood flip. Scared fighters huddle. Confident ones spread. They huddled. Tony pulled a pistol and fired anyway, because some men would rather double down than think twice. Concrete spat dust off a pillar inches from my cheek as I dove. Now it was a job. I moved. First man lunged, I slid, buried an elbow in his solar plexus, felt him fold, swept the second's legs, skull kissed a fender. Drew my P320 as the third came up with a tire iron. "Drop it," I said, and they answered with gunfire. Windows exploded, a dozen car alarms joined the choir. Water dripped from somewhere it shouldn't. My radio crackled with Jake Police ETA. 4 minutes, can you hold? 4 minutes is forever when people are hunting you in a concrete box. Pattern interrupt. I shot the sprinkler. Water hammered down like a storm that forgot its manners. Floor, slick visibility. Weird, sound all wrong. Echoes piling on echoes. Emergency lights flipped to a colder white that erased shadows. Cameras saw better, men saw worse. "Find her," Tony yelled. But panic makes people loud, and loud is easy to track. I moved low along bumpers, used a pocket mirror to catch angles, 2 on the left, 2 close together, 3 straight ahead, trying to flank 2 right, going wide. I took 1 clean, told another to stop. He ran. I fired once, spine hit. He dropped like a switch, flipped. Foam from an extinguisher turned the air into milk, and inside that white I slipped behind their line, got quiet and surgical, and kept moving because stillness gets you pinned. Viper, the one with the knife and the hungry eyes, started spraying into the foam bullets, chewing sparks, but he kept his chin low and never looked up. The utility ladder on the pillar took me to a steel walkway above their heads. I climbed, breath steady, heart slow, counted, lined up 2 shots, Viper folded. Tony spun in place, screaming, "Where are you?" And I let my voice bounce. "You came to hurt an innocent woman because a coward with money paid you to teach her a lesson." He shot at the echo. "You want to know my place?" I said. "My place is between predators and the people they hunt." He fired again. "No, I finished, you won't." 1 more round, then silence that sounded like judgment. I climbed down, water up to my ankles. Sirens growing teeth outside, and the part they never show in movies began the tremor in your hands after you stop moving. The inventory of damage, the count of cartridges, the second guessing that knocks on the back of your skull. Yeah, that happened. EMTs poured in with the cops. Detective Ray Williams introduced himself with eyes that had seen everything twice, asked my name, my background, my account. 7 against 1, he said. "Yes, sir," I said. "Former Army." He looked around and said quietly, "Someone paid a lot of money." Right then, Harrison pushed through the tape like a man whose name builds doors, talking about damage to his building and liability. And whose fault was this? He saw me alive. His face did a fast little dance, shock, rage. Fear then settled into the mask again, but the detective had already seen the truth flash by. And then the twist inside the twist. Angela came in with a laptop. Tom had mirrored every angle to off-site servers. The disabled cameras had not been disabled at all. There was the warehouse handshake, the cash, the men walking in the first shot, the fight, the whole thing time-stamped and signed by the machines. Patricia stepped in with her folder, years of complaints, Harrison buried under NDAs. Jake handed over logs, maintenance tickets, timelines. Receipts piled high. "Sir," the detective said, voice like dry paper, "you have the right to remain silent." And for once, Harrison's silence did the talking. The DA called it self-defense, the judge called the conspiracy what it was, and Harrison got time to think about it. Steel industries changed. Leadership rewrote policies that actually meant something. Not signs you taped to break room walls. My coworkers, my unit left in waves and built things that treated people like people. Bobby started a worker-owned maintenance cooperative. Jake trained whistleblower protection teams. Tom hardened networks, so the truth can't be unplugged. I opened Porter Security Consulting in a sunlit warehouse with plants that won't die, and a wall of letters from folks who wrote, "Because you stood up, I found my voice." Not neat, not perfect, but better. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. The footage went viral, not because people love violence, but because they recognize courage when they see it. And for once, the attention pushed something forward. Complaints spiked across the city. HR departments that used to stall started moving. A state senator came calling about a bill to require public reporting on harassment settlements so serial predators can't hide behind payouts. They started calling it the Porter Act. Not my idea, but I won't lie. The first time I heard it, I felt something crack and heal at the same time. The Army called too, asked me to help design a program for veterans coming home, how to translate discipline without dragging the war into every room, how to fight the right fights at the right time. I said yes. Now the part people argue about. Do I regret it? I regret that it was necessary. I regret that a corporate garage turned into a battlefield because a spoiled man wanted to make a point. I regret 7 families grieving men who chose wrong and paid for it. I do not regret standing up for my life or refusing to play dead so someone with money could feel big. If it were you, what would you have done? Some of you will say, I should have taken the beating and sued. Some of you will say, I went too far. Some of you will call me a vigilante. Some of you will call me a hero. I don't accept either label cleanly. I'm just a woman who wanted quiet, who knew how to fight, who was tired of being told her place, who got lucky enough to have quiet people get loud at the right moment. That's the lesson I carry and the one I'm leaving with you. The twist wasn't only the fight, it was the stairwells and the server rooms and the break room whispers turning into action. That's where systems change in the hands of people who decide fear costs more than courage. I still polish tables in my office sometimes. Old habits. I like watching the light travel in the grain. I like leaving a surface better than I found it. People look me in the eye now when I push a cart, but I'll tell you a secret. I looked people in the eye before too. I just stopped waiting for permission to be human. Respect is not a perk for the titled, it's the baseline for being alive. And if your workplace can't guarantee that you don't have a workplace, you have a stage for bullies. So let's argue in the comments, let's be honest. Was what I did justice or just survival with good evidence? Where's your line between turning the other cheek and becoming the next cautionary tale? If it were your sister, your mother, your daughter, your friend, would you tell her to keep her head down or to build a plan and own the ending? Do you think that's fair? If this story punched you in the gut, hit like, so it reaches someone who needs it. Subscribe if you want more true-to-life stories, told the way they actually feel messy and real with quiet courage and loud consequences. Most of all, tell me your take, agree, disagree, push back, share the moment you stood up or the moment you wish you had. I read everything. Your courage keeps me going. Now it's your turn. If it were you, what would you have done?